Ivana Trump, a woman who used to make news for her beauty and strength, spent her last few months dealing with pain, loneliness, and the weight of loss. As the beautiful lady faded from view, she dealt with problems that not many people knew about. The world was interested in more than just her sad death, though. It was her funeral that turned things in a strange way. One guest stood out among the mourners and shocked everyone by showing up. Before we can fully grasp what this moment means, we need to look into the complicated web of people and relationships in Ivana's life. It's hard for many people to find the place where Ivana Marie Zelnikova's life started. Godvaldov is a small town in what used to be Czechoslovakia and is now the Czech Republic. The years Ivana was born, on February 20th, 1949, were a mix of warm care and strict rules. Milo Zelnicek was her father. He was an electrical engineer and knew how important it was to work hard. Marie Frankova, Ivana's mother, worked as a phone operator and took care of her young daughter, Ivana, who would later become famous all over the world. Ivana wasn't like other kids from the start. Adults were amazed at how well she could ski down hills when she was only 4 years old. Because her father saw how talented she was, he became her first and toughest teacher. During the Soviet era, it was hard for people to dream of life outside of the iron limits. It was more than just a sport for Ivana, though. Her exit route, a way to see the world outside of her small town. Ivana got better at skiing as she got older. She had worked hard enough to get on the junior national ski team by the time she was a teenager. An opportunity that led her journey outside of Czechoslovakia's strict borders. Ivana learned how important it is to be determined during these formative years. This is a trait that would shape a lot of her life. But she loved more than just skis. It was also important to Ivana that she go to school. She went to Charles University in Prague, which is one of the best schools in the country, and got her master's degree in physical education by 1972. Yet Ivana wasn't just limited to the world of school. She had a short but memorable role on Czechoslovak TV in 1970 in the children's show Panto. This showed that she liked being in the spotlight. Even though Ivana did well in school and sports, she was no stranger to trouble. She said in 1988 that she had been a substitute for the Czechoslovak ski team at the Winter Olympics in 1972, where she took part in events like downhill and slalom. At first, this claim was taken at face value, which made her even more mysterious. There were some things in Ivana's life that were not what they seemed to be. It was found out years later that her claim had been thrown out. Peter Pomezny, who is the Secretary General of the Czechoslovak Olympic Committee, said in public that there were no records of her participation. As Snopes dug deeper in 2021, they found that Czechoslovakia had not even sent any women's alpine skiers to the 1972 Olympics. This cast question on Ivana's story. But Ivana was never one to let the truth hold her back. She was good at telling stories, and this skill showed up in her personal life too. In 1971, Ivana did something brave that would change her life for good. Alfred Winkelmeyer, an Austrian ski teacher, was her husband. This wasn't a love-filled marriage. It was a smart choice. Ivana became an Austrian citizen when she married Winkelmeyer. This made it possible for her to leave Czechoslovakia without being seen as a traitor. It was a smart move that let her see her family back home while she looked for new chances abroad. But the marriage didn't last long. In 1972, Ivana got a divorce in Los Angeles even though she was not there. Winkelmeyer had moved there to teach skiing. Another part of her life came to an end just as quickly as it started, but it did its job. It let Ivana do what she wanted to do without any restrictions. The next place Ivana went was Canada. In Montreal, she was caught up in a tornado of love, sorrow, and starting over. The poet and playwright George Stadel became her boyfriend, but they lost him in a terrible car accident in 1973. George Siravatka, who Ivana had been seeing since 1967, moved in with her. Siravatka had left Russia for Canada 2 years before and now ran a successful ski shop in Montreal. Ivana said they were married a lot, but they never married in real life. It wasn't easy to live in Montreal, but Ivana was always up for a challenge. She was a ski teacher and started modeling because she had to, not because she loved it. She took English classes at McGill University at night to improve her skills, and she also modeled for Eaton's and fashion designer Aki Samft. The most famous modeling job she ever had was for the 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal. It kept her in touch with sports while she thought about what to do next. In 1976, she made the next step, which would change her life in ways she never thought possible. Ivana was in New York City for a modeling job when she ran into Donald Trump, a cocky and eager real estate developer. At least for Ivana, it wasn't love at first sight. She wasn't looking for a new romance because she was still seeing someone in Montreal. Trump had other ideas, though. He wasn't the type to say no. Over the next few months, Donald kept after Ivana with the same determination that would become his trademark. She got 100 roses from him, gave her fancy meals, and called her all the time. even after she moved back to Montreal. He finally got what he wanted when he shocked her by going to one of her fashion shows in Canada. By Christmas, Ivana could no longer say there was no link. Donald asked her to take a vacation in Aspen, which would be the last time they saw each other. As the snow fell around them on New Year's Eve, Donald said something very brave. "You'll mess up your life if you don't marry me." Ivana agreed because she was in the moment. From the very beginning, Ivana and Donald Trump's marriage was nothing but a show. The event took place on April 9th, 1977, at New York City's famous Marble Collegiate Church and was very fancy. The most important people in society were there. Ivana looked beautiful in her wedding dress. She was about to enter a world of power, wealth, and unquenchable desire. There was a surprise on their vacation in Mexico that neither of them expected. It should have been a happy start to their marriage. Ivana had a baby. On December 31st, 1977, at the end of that year, she gave birth to their first child, Donald Jr. This was the start of their family dynasty. But Donald wasn't just married to her for family reasons. It had to do with money, power, and honor, but as an important part of Donald's rapidly growing real estate business. Donald hired her as the vice president of interior design at the Commodore Hotel, which he was turning into the Grand Hyatt Hotel because he saw how good she was at design and attention to detail. Ivana touched everything. She did more than just decorate. She made rooms feel luxurious and grand, which became associated with the Trump name. They worked together very well in business. Ivana did more than just work behind the scenes. She was in the lead, especially when Trump Tower was being built. You could tell she had a hand in making the building's innards look sleek and luxurious. Being head of the Plaza Hotel, on the other hand, may have been her most important job. Ivana's leadership and vision truly shined through here, making the Plaza more than just a hotel. It became a sign of class in New York. They were having a lot of success at work, but problems were starting to show up in their personal lives. By the late 1980s, their busy public lives were starting to wear them down. In 1989, the holidays were meant to be a time to celebrate, but they turned out to be a turning point. Ivana's world fell apart when she met Donald's lover Marla Maples while she was on vacation in Aspen. It was not private at all when they talked. Witnesses told of the tense meeting, which quickly became the stuff of tabloid legend. Ivana was always calm in public, but she couldn't hide how hurt she was by being betrayed. People used to think of the marriage as strong, but scandal and public attention started to break it down. Even though they tried to look good for their kids' sake, the damage had already been done. As of February 1990, things were at their worst. Trump shocked a lot of people when he locked Ivana out of her Plaza Hotel office. Not only was this an insult to me personally, but it was also a clear sign that the marriage and work relationship was falling apart. Soon after, they were in court over their prenuptial agreement, and the media loved every dirty detail. Besides all the trouble in the public eye, Ivana's father Milos died suddenly in October 1990, which was even worse. The fact that he had been a spy for Czechoslovakia's intelligence service made her sadness even more complicated. Even though they were still getting a divorce, Donald was there for her during this hard time. It was a rare moment of unity during their rough split. The divorce, which was completed in 1992, was one of the most talked about and heated of the decade. The shocking claims that Ivana made about Donald, including rape and abuse, made the media go crazy. Still, even though they were very angry about breaking up, Ivana got a good deal. $14 million, which includes their home in Connecticut, a condo in Trump Tower, and a month at Mar-a-Lago every year. But Ivana and Donald were still able to get along after they got divorced. They put their kids first, and as time went on, their relationship got worse. The fact that Ivana went to Donald's inauguration in 2017 showed that they could put aside their differences for the sake of family unity. Even though Donald was bad, he valued Ivana's thoughts and often asked her for advice, even when he was president. Marla Maples later said she felt bad about being the center of the scandal that ended Ivana and Donald's marriage. She asked Ivana to forgive her and told her how much she loved Ivana's children and craved peace. Marla stayed close with her stepchildren, especially Tiffany. This showed how complicated family relationships had become over the years. Ivana tried to start over with her life and love again after her public split from Donald Trump. She fell in love with Riccardo Mazzucchelli in 1991. He was a stylish Italian businessman who was known for making big personal moves. Riccardo often went to great lengths to win her love, making their relationship look like something out of a movie. One time, after a simple lunch, he decorated the whole room with roses, which made Ivana feel both pleased and interested. In the beginning, Riccardo proposed to Ivana with a 10-carat diamond ring because he was set on getting married. Ivana said no, even though the deal was very appealing. But Riccardo didn't give up. He asked her to marry him again 3 years later, this time with a beautiful Burmese gem, and she finally said yes. They got married in 1995 and thought it would be a new beginning, but it only lasted 20 months. Even though Ricardo told Ivana he loved her and had given her more than Donald ever did, their relationship quickly turned bad. They didn't end their marriage on good terms. Ivana sued Ricardo for $15 million, saying that he broke their deal to keep things secret. Even though the court case was nasty, they were able to settle out of court, ending their short-lived relationship in peace. Ivana wasn't single for long, though. She started a passionate relationship with Count Raffredo Gaetani dell'Aquila di Aragon Lovatelli in 1997. He was an Italian nobleman whose name alone made people think of royalty and old-world charm. Gaetani was the very definition of classy in Europe. He loved fast cars, beautiful women, and living the high life. Ivana asked him if he was still a playboy, but he said he had moved on to work when they met. They were very romantic with each other and admired each other a lot. Gaetani wasn't just Ivana's lover, he was also her partner, and he respected her strength and freedom. For her birthday, he famously gave her a red Ferrari. An action that showed how much he loved her and how rich he was. Gaetani made Ivana's life more elegant than the men she had been with before. Donald Trump, Ivana's ex-husband, liked him and called Gaetani a high-quality guy. This was a rare compliment from Trump, who was known for being harsh on Ivana's ex-partners. It was sad that their partnership had to end, though. He died in a car accident in 2005. This broke Ivana's heart. The end of one of the most important relationships in her life, one that had given her love and respect, was marked by his death. Rossano Rubicondi, an Italian actress and businessman who was much younger than Ivana, was the last important person she dated. Their relationship grew quickly into a wild affair that ended with a big wedding at Mar-a-Lago in 2008. The wedding was a big deal. It was attended by wealthy people and had all the glitz and glamour you'd expect from Ivana Trump. Things were hard in their marriage from the start, though. Ivana and Rossano broke up in 2009, just 1 year after getting married, but they were still together. They were seen together a lot over the next 10 years, but their on-again, off-again romance kept them in the news. In 2018, they even danced together on the Italian version of Dancing with the Stars. Their chemistry was clear on and off the dance floor. They broke up for what seemed like the last time in 2019, because it was hard to keep up a long-distance romance. Even though they broke up, they stayed close and were often seen together in New York. But bad things happened when Rossano died suddenly in October 2021. He was 49 years old. Ivana was very sad when he died, who were used to having him in their lives, even as friends. In her last few months, Ivana Trump slowly pulled away from the world she had once ruled with such ease. She had health problems that slowed her down and made her less of the lively woman she had always been. She stayed away from people a lot because she was afraid of COVID-19. Even though there were precautions and vaccines available, Ivana was so afraid of getting the virus that she locked herself in her New York townhouse and avoided the high-class social groups she used to enjoy. But Ivana didn't stay inside just because she was afraid of getting sick. Years of snowboarding, which she loved and was very good at, had done a lot of damage to her body. Her hip hurt all the time, reminding her every day of how hard her busy lifestyle had been on her body. She could no longer do easy things like eating at her favorite restaurants because the pain was so bad. Zachardam and Ivana's other friends often talked about how her pain kept her at home and stopped her from enjoying the social life she used to love. Things got worse after she fell at a restaurant and tripped over a bag that someone had left on the floor without thinking. The accident made her already bad injuries worse, making her pain worse and making her feel even more alone. Her grief was made worse by the death of Rossano Rubicondi, her ex-husband and the last great love of her life. It was never Ivana's intention to say she was unhappy, but she did tell close friends how sad she was about his death. Rossano's death was like a wound that never got better, and Ivana had to deal with her sadness alone. Then July 14th, 2022, morning came. A normal day that turned tragic in the end. From the first stories, it looked like Ivana had a heart attack, but the truth was much worse. It would be fatal for Ivana to fall down the stairs in her home. The medical examiner in New York City said that she died from injuries to her chest that were caused by a blunt object. This meant that it was an accident. A lot of people close to her had feared this terrible ending. She has a steep staircase in her house that doesn't have any modern safety measures or carpet. This has been a worry for a long time. A close friend, Nikki Haskell, had even said she wouldn't stay at Ivana's house because the stairs were too dangerous. Even though she was worried, Ivana kept living in the home she loved, which was full of memories of her amazing life. Two people who work for Ivana and clean her house couldn't reach her that morning, so they knew something wasn't right. A repair worker was asked to help them open the door. That's when they found Ivana's dead body at the bottom of the stairs, next to a spilled coffee cup. It was a simple but moving detail in the wake of such a complicated life. If you knew someone as important as Ivana, you would have thought her funeral on July 20th, 2022 would have been very fancy. Her 3 children were at the service at St. Vincent Ferrar Roman Catholic Church, which was a full Catholic service. Each of Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric talked about their mother with love. The event was attended by many well-known people from high society. Former First Lady Melania Trump and Baron Trump also paid their respects. Among the expected names, however, one guest stood out: Ivana Trump, who used to be married to Donald Jr. Their breakup was a mess, with gossip and a lot of attention from the public. Ivana had a lot of honest things to say about Vanessa, especially when it came to her failed marriage to Donald Jr. The fact that she showed up to support her daughter Chloe showed how many relationships Ivana had had over the course of her life. Vanessa showed up out of the blue, but it showed how Ivana's presence still had an effect on those around her, even after she died. Many of Ivana Trump's family and friends said their goodbyes. It was clear that she would live on through her children and the company she helped build, but also through the lasting impact she had on everyone who knew her.